Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to be looking at the subreddit r/maliciouscompliance, where people have conformed to the letter but not the spirit of a request. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some malicious compliance. I broke my general manager's car. Before I continue, breaking his car was not on purpose. Recently, our security gate broke at work. The gate was put in place so all cars could stop and pedestrians through that area were safer. Without the gate, most vehicles just go flying through that area now at about 50 kilometers an hour or so. Obvious with pedestrians, it is a safety issue. My boss comes to me and tells me that the general manager wants to install speed bumps to slow people down as a new gate would cost too much money. Sure, so I ask about details, and since it is coming from a higher up, he doesn't have any. I go to the general manager to inquire about height, width, how many, etc. Instead of answering my questions, I promptly get told to do my job and stop asking so many questions, much to my annoyance. Just get some that will make people stop. My general manager is a bit of a Richard. Talk to the head of security to order the speed bumps I chose. They are about 3 inches high. I ordered high ones, so people would have to come to a dead stop to get over them. Pretty safe. Fast forward a day, and I have them installed. I start getting complaints that they are too high and people have to stop to get over them. That was kind of the point. Anyways, General Manager knows they have been installed and he is super happy. Until he decides to race over them instead of stopping. Tore his catalytic converter right off his car. He gets upset that I installed high speed bumps, and I just say, "You are supposed to stop." He just grumbled. Been over a week and they are still installed and have not heard anything since. Everyone stops now, of course. Edit number 1. The dimensions of the speed bump are 72 inch by 12 inch by 3 inch, for those wondering. Number 2. These are the specific speed bumps. If you go quickly over a bump, you will damage your car. And number 3, I went and measured it and I misspoke. It is actually a 3 inch height. I could have sworn I got the 2 inch, but oh well. Fixed it in post as well. Is 3 inches a lot? Because 3 inches doesn't seem like a lot, but it probably is, and if he's destroyed his catalytic converter then, yeah, he definitely deserved it though. Lady wants a coffee from a fresh pot. This happened about more than 10 years ago, but I consider it one of my finest moments. I was working at Tim Hortons, a Canadian coffee chain, as an assistant manager. Half my shifts were spent in the office, the other half in the drive-thru relieving employees for breaks. It's mid-afternoon and it's pretty slow. A van pulls up on the speaker and I answer. "Welcome to Tim Hortons, how may I help you?" "Hi, I want a medium coffee, double from a fresh pot. I don't want something that has been sitting there for hours. I want a fresh pot." It's important to note that she's talking really slowly and really loud and forceful. Like she's sure we're all a bunch of high school dropouts who do not know how to make a cup of coffee. It's degrading. Our coffee pots are timed for 20 minutes from the second they stop brewing. We had this white chalk pencil thing that would write right on the hot pot. So while the lady is repeating her desire for a fresh pot, my coworker has already made the coffee from the pot that technically was still dripping. Fresh pot, got it. Please pull ahead. I tell the staff that I'm personally going to handle this, as I already know that this isn't going to be the end of her rudeness. Lady comes to the window, drops her change in my open hand angrily, the coins bouncing off each other and nearly winding up on the cement outside. I roll my eyes and hand her the coffee. As I'm putting the coins into the till, I'm watching her out of the corner of my eye. She opens the lid, smells the coffee, takes a tiny sip, then... Excuse me, I wanted a fresh pot. This coffee has been sitting there for hours. No, it hasn't. My co-worker actually pulled the still brewing pot out and poured your coffee from that pot. You're wrong. I know this is old. This is not Tim Hortons coffee. Smell this. Taste this. She passes the cup to her horrified female passenger, who does not want to get involved, but leans towards the cup and takes a sniff. See? This is not Tim Hortons coffee. I know Tim Hortons coffee. You're right, ma'am. It's Robin's coffee. What do you want us to do? Lady, turning to Marta red and screaming, I want my coffee from a fresh pot. I stick out my hand, grab the coffee back, and start walking around the corner to the front of the store. My co-worker hands me a new coffee, but I reply, no, I have to find the freshest pot. So once I'm around the corner, out of view, I remove the old lid, stick a new lid on the coffee, and wait a minute. My co-workers are watching what I'm doing and all trying to cover a smirk. I return to the window, hand the coffee out and say, here you go. The lady opens the lid, takes a whiff and a long sip of the exact same coffee, and... See? This is what Tim Hortons coffee should taste like. Well, that coffee came from the exact same pot as the last coffee I gave you. Her jaw drops, and you can see the blood draining from her face. She takes another small sip, and then... No, this doesn't taste right. Does this smell right? No, I want my money back. She hands me the coffee, and I hand her back her change, and she drives off. Thankfully, she never visited my store again. I'm pretty sure no matter what, she was going to be yelling at someone, at least someplace that day. Like, it just happened to be that coffee shop that got the blame. Adjust my profit margins? Say no more. My dad owned a construction company that specialised in building boathouses, boat docks, and fishing piers. He often had to work with snooty clientele with more money than God. The lake most of his work took place at was not terribly far from DFW. Dad had a very thick southern accent. A lot of his clientele assumed he wasn't smart based upon his accent, and could be incredibly patronising and assumed they knew his business better than he did. Frequently, he would have repeat customers who would buy and sell properties on this one lake. One of the clients, we will call SC for snooty client, had my dad build 2 to 3 boathouses already, when he bought up another property. He called my dad to look at some plans and make a bid. After Dad had a few days to calculate the costs, he went to the snooty client's house with a bid. The snooty client was a multi-millionaire, but would complain and nitpick costs every time Dad had bid a job. He always ended up using Dad, but he'd complain a lot first. Anyways, Dad takes the bid to him, and snooty client argues that it's far too high, even after Dad showed him a discount he'd made, since snooty client was a repeat customer. You need to call your accountant and have your profit margins reviewed. Come back to me with something more in line with what your accountant says is fair. Dad just smiled and nodded. He brought his figurings to the accountant, and it turned out his profit margins were too low, even before the discount was applied. Dad calls the snooty client and tells him what the accountant said, and there is a long silence on the other end. Dad told snooty client that he would honour the quote he provided for 3 days, after which the costs would allow for a 3% increase after refiguring materials. Dad said he could attach documents from the accountant showing his profit margin if snooty client was interested. SC sulked a bit, but ended up signing the contract at the original price. Well, hopefully in the future this guy will know not to question the prices again, because he doesn't want that happening again. Lunch breaks. So, I used to work for a local electrician company, and my boss was a bit of a lunatic. Think of your typical boss babe, multi-level marketing mum. She always thought her company was the best darn company this side of the Mississippi, though it really wasn't. She ignored a lot of labor laws and failed to meet code in 85% of the work she made us do. That being said, she always preached to us about how hard we need to work and how fast we need to finish jobs. One of the ways she said we could hasten our jobs is by either skipping lunch or eating lunch in the work vehicles on our way to different jobs. Which we didn't really have a problem with until she recommended we did that and made it a new lunch policy. With that new policy, we started strictly adhering to the labor laws version of a lunch break, which is a half-hour clocked out, no touching a job-related task until half an hour is over. After a month of us doing this, she wrote me up for taking these half-hour lunches. So, we started taking 2 10-minute breaks as well as our half-hour lunches. After 1 week of us doing that, she removed the lunch policy and my write-ups. I can already tell that business is not making a single cent of money, but she's still posting on her Instagram and Facebook saying, "Oh wow, I love being self-employed, you guys should come work for me too." Having to reach a call quota. So I work in logistics in the US and currently got stuck working on the sales side when I usually would be on the operations side and track and trace everything. Well, as of Thursday afternoon, at like 3:45, the CEO decided that we all need to hit an outbound call quota of 100. Now, again, this was 3:45 with work ending at 5 PM. Many people only had 30 to 40 calls made, and he said we could not leave till we hit 100. I lied and said I had a prior engagement and left, and heard from co-workers they were there until almost 7:30 PM. Not cool. I came in today after being off Friday and decided to play their game. My manager said we are here until we hit 100, so 100 calls it is. I've called Comcast a few times, just sitting through the menu and hanging up after 5 minutes. I've called my mum, sister, girlfriend, you name it, and it's currently 1:40 PM and I'm at 85 calls made. I'm not afraid of being punished or fired, cause I run the tracking department and do it all over email, so I'm just doing this to show them having a quota this high is a waste of everyone's time. That's like the stupidest thing ever. Like, imagine the guy's just like, "Oh, I'm going home now," and it's 2 PM, and they're like, "Where are you going?" He's like, "Oh, I've called 100 people, I get to go home, right?" Don't ask an owner-operator for his boss's phone number. So, I drive an 18-wheeler. Not only that, but I own my truck and my business. One day, while coming into Laredo, Texas, I was in the turning lane for my exit, and this car whips out in front of me. Not really having enough room to stop, I turned onto the shoulder, threw on the air horn, which is extremely loud when you're next to the truck, and stopped right beside the guy. He proceeds to get out of his car with his phone and starts taking pictures of my truck and plate. By this time, the light had turned green, so I gave him a few short horn honks to basically tell him to get going. He then beats on my door, so I roll my window down, and he starts screaming about his ears hurting and how I'm damaging his ability to hear. He then demands that I give him my boss's number and my driver's license number, so he can call it in and report me, and have my job for this. And he proceeded to move his car to the shoulder and back so close to my bumper I couldn't get around him. I kind of smirked at him and told him he didn't want to speak to my boss because he is a short-tempered man and that he wouldn't like what my boss would have to say about this issue, but he insisted that he speak to my boss. I also told him if he wanted to call me in, all he'd need was the numbers on the side of my truck since it's assigned to me, Considering I only own one truck, you can imagine what I would assign my truck number to be. I gave him my cell phone number and watched as he laughed while speaking each number as he dialed. I see his number pop up on my phone, mounted to the windshield. He couldn't see it from his angle, and tried to hold in my laughter. I let it ring for a minute, and he's getting impatient. The whole time traffic is going around us. I finally picked up the phone and answered it. "Truck transport, how can I help you?" His face turns beet red. He proceeded to yell at me some more and tells me this isn't over because now he has my number. Yeah dude, so do about 100,000 other people. So what? A week later, I get a phone call from a number I didn't have saved in my phone. I had forgotten about the incident, but thought it might be a broker or a customer. I answer the phone and this lady chirps up. Turns out it was his mother and she wanted monetary compensation for her son's troubles. I asked if she knew what had even happened, and she tells me some story about how his bumper was damaged by my truck and that he was scared to talk to me because me driving an 18-wheeler was intimidating to him. Being a smart owner, I have a camera in my truck, and I dump all my truck's footage onto my hard drive. So I asked her if she could receive videos over email. She said sure, but wasn't sure what I was about to send her. I spent a minute or two looking through the hard drive on my laptop and find the video of the incident and send it to her. While still on the phone, I can hear the audio playing as she watched it. Her tone changed in an instant, and I heard her put the phone down, and all hell broke loose in that house. There was Spanish screaming, things being thrown, and Lord knows what else going on. It reminded me of that movie, A Christmas Story, when Ralphie's mum calls that lady about the curse word and hears the apocalypse on the phone. Yeah, it was kind of like that, but in Spanish. She then comes back to me and very kindly asks for two things. Number one, she asks that I forget she called and act as if this never happened because she was embarrassed to no end. And number two, if I could delete the video of her son's idiocy. I told her that number one was fine, I could do that. But as far as number two, I would not delete the footage. But the only way anyone other than me or her would see it is if it was needed for a court case. She bid me good day and hung up the phone. So this guy had the nerve to confront this guy in real life and bang on his door and shout at him, but he was too intimidated to call him on the phone, so made his mum do it. That's some weak guy right there. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like. And if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you very soon.